Welcome to episode 2 of Just Jordan Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan. To my left, he had to be the first guest. I told y'all I'm going to have a guest on here. He's the first guest. He's my brother from another mother, a mentor, a friend, Edward Chung. That sounds weird because I don't call him Edward. I call him Chung. But for y'all, it's Edward Chung. Let's give him a hand clap. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
No problem. I told people somebody special is gonna be my first guest. So let's get it started. So where you from, brother?
Born and raised from Houston, Texas. And if you're from Houston, I was raised in West Houston, kind of close to Cypress area.
Okay. And I didn't tell him this, but I wanted to start with a little tribute to his pops. I didn't tell him this, but to give y'all a backstory, me and him met in college. We was freshmen at TSU, the real TSU. I know people say Tennessee State, but we the better TSU. We met and we hit it off real quick. And I remember one Christmas, he invited me to his parents' house. And I'm hearing all these stories about, hey, bro, my dad is kind of cuckoo. I said, oh, okay. Everybody, his mom, other friends. And I remember his dad, they used to have stairs. And his dad came down the stairs happy. And everybody was looking at him like, are you okay? Because he just came out, hey, how you doing? Like, he met me, greeted me. I felt like I was part of the family. And I got one more story about his dad. I go to church, but I don't go to church often. And his daughter was having a christening. And his dad had a church. He was a pastor. And he asked everybody who was new to the church to stand up. So I stood up. And he scanned, telling people, thank you. And then he got to me and was like, he had a double take, was like, oh, Jordan in church? And I said, yes, sir. And I sat down. So that's the type of man his dad was, somebody who was, to be honest, that I'm aspiring to be like. Because his dad, every time I met him, it was a greeting, it was a warm feeling from a man, like a pops. And yeah, man, I just wanted to make that little tribute to your dad because, you know, that was my man. That was my guy.
Appreciate it. You met him at a great time.
Yeah,
Old man, Chung.
That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, so tell me about your early life, your early childhood, siblings, all that.
Yeah, I was raised in the projects. No, I'm just playing. My mind goes back to there was 5 of us, so that was always different. You already said it. My dad was a pastor and a coach. We were homeschooled, so we were different, but we were real fortunate. I had one of those very blessed childhood that we had a lot of kids in our neighborhood. We was like the Sandlot. I was growing up playing sports. So my mind goes immediately to, being outside all the time and hanging out with people on the block and quality times with my siblings. It was cool. Like, we grew up. It was nice. I would never complain. My parents did the best they could. I think they did a good job with us. And it was, it was love. It was good. That's the early childhood that I remember, at least.
Okay, that sounds like a good childhood. He's from Cypress, everybody. That sounds like a good.
I did paint a nice picture.
Yeah, that's a good
Painted
picture.
A great picture there.
Yeah, so we're a pretty athletic group. So tell me about early athletics. He said he was homeschooled. So tell me about the homeschool scene and all that. Because I ain't know about homeschool till I was a junior high school. So
Right.
Tell me about the scene.
Right. Well, for starters, we live in Texas, so Texas is the most homeschool friendly state in the country. Like, it's as soon as you say you're doing it, you're basically like your own private school. So a lot of people do it. Um, you can do it however you want. But the part that most people don't know about is like the sport aspect. Like thinking, oh, well, if you are homeschooled, you can't play, school sports, which early on, I mean, our times were a little different. So we weren't rushing to compete in team sports at a young age. Like now, like kids playing AAU 6, 7. We weren't doing that. So I mean, it just started off with growing a love for competition, going outside, playing at the park, and then eventually moving up to. I mean, by the time, I mean, young double digits, start playing little leagues, boys and girls club type thing. And then, homeschool sports is big in basketball. So that was the first homeschool sport I played, junior high, 7th grade. Um, and then, so we had a little homeschool group of where we brought, we all came together. Set the coffee, you need that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The homeschool team is basically like the way I explain it to a normal person, it's kind of like school AAU, where it's like, we all do our own thing school wise, but then we come together and play together.
Okay.
That's kind of how I do that. But yeah, there's a lot I could go into with that. But yeah, I don't know where you want me to go with that. There's a lot of different conversations from there.
I guess because the most notable homeschool player I know is somebody you play with. Is Justin Jackson. So after that, I really don't know anybody who went homeschool. So let me ask you this. Why don't you think more kids go homeschool?
The crazy thing is with that is, it's kind of like anything in life where there's a cycle, and for a period of time, it was like a golden age of homeschool basketball. So like before Justin, there was a couple guys in the Houston area, some brothers, the Sanders brothers. They both were Division I guys.
Oh.
Two of those brothers played overseas professionally. Then right before Justin, you have Don Radnell's Chicken, my other brother. Could have played in the league, but long story. But
hold on, before you finish, me and him we used to say that Chicken was a better basketball player than Giannis. Okay, let us describe Chicken before y'all be like we was crazy. Chicken is 7 feet. I don't give a fuck what he say. Chicken is 7 feet. Can dribble, shoot, dunk on you, play defense. He went to U of H. This was before Giannis was Giannis. So we was like, bro, Chicken can do what Giannis do. This is before the defensive player of the year.
This was young Giannis. This was
early. When he was a little skinny before he started. So, okay, I just want to say that. Okay, go on.
Chicken's my dog.
Yeah.
But it was a golden era. So let me speed up a little bit. So we had the Sanders brothers. We had Chick. Then we had Justin. Then we had Alonzo Trier, who played in the league for a little bit.
Yeah.
So even on the women's side, we had Mariah Jefferson, Tabor Spann. He played at Tennessee. Like, at the time, it was before a lot of major like prep avenues, maybe, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some prep school stuff, but like it wasn't the easy norm that people were just blowing these things up all over the place. So homeschool kind of got a little popular. Like you could get in more skills training. You could get ahead in school, like some people did. I'm not gonna say I did that, but some people, when they finished high school, they were already, almost getting their associates in college. So it was a lot of benefits to it at the time. And it just was the era. I think in the last few years, it hasn't been the way. I don't know, maybe because it watered down. I think there was too many avenues, and then the teams weren't very competitive. I think it has a chance to come back around. I might dabble back into coaching there one day. Who knows? We'll see what the future holds. I still think it is a good opportunity ultimately if you take advantage of it. It's not for everybody. I'll say that for sure. But if you are the type you attack your academics and you are independent learner and a hard worker, you can get ahead in a lot of aspects. So like, would I advocate for it? For some people, I mean, like I said, it's not for everybody. Some people need more structure, where others really thrive. I think I don't know why it's not necessarily a big thing right now, but I think it'll come back around.
Okay. So why basketball? What was it? A moment? Was it a player?
For me to play or what?
Yeah, for you to play. What was that moment? Because I have a moment that I remember for me. So what was the moment for you?
Well, for me, I played everything. So I literally did everything throughout school: baseball, basketball, football, tennis, ran. For me, it was football was a absolutely no, and that was because I enjoyed it, but football was the sport my dad played in college, and it wasn't my avenue. So I say absolutely not. Not to mention, I will say homeschool football is not a major thing, or at least it was when I was playing. So it made it easier for me to stop playing football at a higher level. The harder choice was baseball. I loved baseball. Loved baseball. But again, getting to the high school level, it just wasn't a fit that I liked. And ultimately, I chose basketball. If I could go back, I don't know. We might make a different decision there. But I just went with basketball, like, because I still got my competitive flex. I just love competition. Ultimately, I have to compete in something.
Mm-hmm.
But basketball, I love to win. And in basketball, it's not just about winning a game. In basketball, there's many battles within the game that I like. I like to win the mental battle where I feel like somebody cracked. One of us is going to crack. It's going to be you. I like that win. I like whenever I feel like I'm, getting the better of somebody on the offensive end. That's a win. If I get a stop, that's a win. If I'm making shots, and then if I win the game, there's so many different little nuances in the game uh, that I just had so much fun doing it,
Okay.
even to this day. But yeah, that's why basketball.
Okay. Well, for me, the moment was I used to dibble and dabble in basketball and football, baseball. But I went to my first high school basketball game, and it was Dulles versus Madison. See, I stay in Missouri City, Mo City. So Madison, Herm Clark is right up the street. And it was a player named Tommy Mason Griffin. And Tommy he was listed at 5'9". Tommy was probably 5'7", 5'8". But he was a big, stocky person. Like, he was stocky. And I felt like if he can do it, I can do it. Because I was built the same. And I watched that boy, and it was another player on the other side a young player named D'Angelo Harrison. And I watched that game, and I watched Tommy do the things he did, and I say, I want to play basketball. So Tommy Mason Griffin, thank you. Because you inspired me.
Let me tell you my Tommy story. I was at the Super 16 event of Tommy Mason Griffin versus Ray Penn, where they just were going back and forth with buckets. That game made me say, I'll never be able to play varsity basketball a day in my life because of the level they were playing. I was like, I don't think I could ever do this because they were both unbelievable. But like you said, like Tommy being a big, bulky guard, like, as you get older, you're like, man, yeah, we kind of built the same. And then Ray Penn ended up being my teammate for a year in college, which was insane. But um, yeah, no, that game I was like, well, I can't do this. Those dudes were unbelievable. Tommy's he's my Houston GOAT. I don't care what nobody says. That's just because of that's who I looked up to. And I watched so many Tommy games.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you another game. I was like, yeah, I don't know if this for me. I watched Yakes. Jack Yakes was a popular team when we was in high school. Jack Yates went 34-0 2 years in a row. Won back-to-back state championships. Was beating teams by 75 points. And it was a guard. His name was Joshua Gray. I want to say he went to Jones. It was Yates versus Jones. Wheatley. Thank you. Yates versus Wheatley. But they played it at TSU Stadium because it was so many people. It was people sitting on the stairs, walking down to the seats. That's how many people it was. And I watched Yates from the tip off tip it back to Pee Wee, and I seen Snap run down that sideline. Pee Wee threw an alley from half court. Snap dunked that ball, and the whole crowd went crazy. I say, yeah, I don't know if this for me, if this how high school is. Was only high school, and it felt like a college game. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
That 2010 team was the best team I ever seen in my life. Funny story, in homeschool basketball, there's a state tournament, and my freshman year, I was on varsity for HCY, the homeschool team. We had the number one player in the city, John Caleb Sanders. If you know, you know. And that was the year that Yates went undefeated. So they're, it was February, so they're getting ready to go to state or whatever. They're wrapping up their season. John Caleb's the number one player. There were grumbles. They were like, Yates wants to play. And like, we can play on this day. It was a Saturday. It was the same weekend as the state championship. And John Caleb, our best player, was like, forget state. I've already won it before. He said, let's play Yates. And me, freshman point guard, and I was starting at the time. I was terrified. I wasn't allowed to say this, but I can say it now because I'm old. I was like, but what about state? He said, I've already won that. I said, well, okay. So then I started asking the better question. I said, well, this press, what we gonna do? Because if you know, you know. And he was like, just give me the ball and get out the way. I said, well, if we're gonna play like that, that's fine. Let's do it. But then the coach ended up saying, no, we're going to state. We can't disrespect state like that. So that is a true story. But yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. But I ended up playing state my senior year. But I was older than by then. I was not afraid. But freshman year, undefeated Yates, they were unbelievable. Best press I ever seen in my life.
Yeah, nah, they was beating people by 75. I mentioned Justin Jackson earlier. You played with him how many years?
7th through 11th grade.
7th to 11th grade. How was he as a teammate? Did y'all see the flashes early? Was it there early? Because what I was hearing, he was scoring 34 in 8th grade. So tell me how he was.
Well, okay, so I say 7th through 11th grade. It was my 7th through 11th grade. For him, it was 6th through 10th. He was a year behind me, if I'm correct. Yes, I'm correct. It was his 6th through 10th. So my 7th grade, because homeschool were different, we were playing on the 8th grade team. So I'm playing on the 8th grade team, 7th grade. He's 6th grade. And by then, I think he might have been 6 foot. I don't remember. Not even, maybe 5'9" something. He can shoot the rock. He can definitely shoot the ball. I was like, man, this dude is good. He came back the next year like 6'2". I'm like, man, this dude he's getting tall. Like, we always knew he was nice. Then the next year he comes back after that, like by like 9th grade now. He's like 6'5". I said, bro, what is going on? I'm still the same height. I stopped growing this way, started growing this way. This dude come back 6'6". I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I remember that was around the time he started getting his first couple of offers. And then like always, like there's always some haters and be like, oh, you think he's that good? You think he can go to Washington? It's like, bro, he's in the 8th grade. He's 6'6". So by the time when I was playing varsity in 9th grade, he was playing varsity in 8th grade. He averaged, I think, almost 20 a game. We was playing with John Caleb, best player in the city. Plus him, I mean, he was averaging almost 20 points a game as 8th grader. So yeah, I was like, yeah, he is that good, bro. And then, it was nice playing with him where you play with a guy, they're different when you'd be like, man, you had an all right game. What was your numbers? Let me look. I had 26, 11, and 5. Oh, okay. All right. And, every game is a minimum 25. Like it's easy to sit here and say it, but it really happened. Like, but we always had a good relationship, and with him, he just played hard, he practiced hard, he did everything the right way. We had our moments of like, because we were real friends too at the time, like, and we could actually talk, real teammates. Where he might get on me, hey, give me the ball, and you're not gonna get the ball right here. In hindsight, I just should have gave him the ball all the time, but no, it's fine. But to this day, we still cool. I leave him alone. I don't bother him. But that's my dog. And we had good times. Good. It was definitely nice playing with a future NBA player.
Okay. Give me your top 5 homeschool players of all time.
That's a crazy question to ask me when I'm not prepared. Top 5 that I played with or played
Okay,
in Houston or
I
like
give you
Marcus in general.
that you play with.
No, that's worse. I'd rather do. Okay, that I play with.
Yeah, that you play with.
Homeschool.
School. You was
That
homeschool
I
in high
played
school.
with. Okay.
That you
One,
play with.
no order.
Good answer. Good answer.
J Jax,
Mm-hmm.
Chick,
Mm-hmm.
John Caleb,
Mm-hmm. That's 3.
Kadeem Laden,
My cousin.
and TJ Rhodes.
TJ. Okay. That's a good 5. That's a good 5.
I gave you 5.
You gave me 5. Okay. Now after you played your homeschool career, how many offers did you have? Who was looking at you? Was it a couple teams, one team? What was your preference? And where did you end up going?
I could talk about this for a while. I was one of those kids that had certain people telling me crazy stuff. Schools are too small and don't do this and that. So that's why I am the way I am now, where I tell the truth to people. But that being said, the school that recruited me the hardest was Colorado Christian. They were a D2 in Lakewood, Colorado, close to Denver, basically Denver. Cedarville University, another D2. They were in Ohio, I think, like in Dayton. But yeah, they were probably the second. They probably recruited me the second most. Aside from that, it was a couple of D3s that were like hit us up. I remember Laterno was like, "Let us know if you interested." But that doesn't make sense. And then late, TSU was like, if you can get in school here, you'll have a preferred walk-on spot. So like to me, dreaming of D1 dreams, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get in. And so that's where I ended up going. And then it was funny because after like I actually got enrolled at TSU or like started that whole process and everything, like a month later, U of H was like, "Come on, if you can get in school here, you can walk on here." And I was like, "Huh?" And it was such a process getting through the homeschool hurdle with the HBCU that once I finally was in, I was like, you know what, I'll just stick it out here. But I was like, "Come on, Coach Dickey," like, cause that's who was coach at U of H at the time. Where I was like, "Man, I wish I knew this." But everything happens for a reason. But I ended up at Texas Southern.
Okay, and the head coach was the legendary Coach Davis.
Legendary, best offensive mind I've ever been around in my life, Coach Davis, Mike Davis.
How was the practices? How was the team? How was Coach Davis as a coach? What kind of coach was he? Let us know.
Very kind guy, soft spoken. No, I'm just kidding. Coach Davis was the coolest guy in the world until the whistle came out. And when the whistle came out, it was business time, and everything was so. Everything was so. It was precise. It was efficient. It was quick. It was fast. I remember the first time where it got real. I didn't even know it was coming. It kind of surprised me because we kept having like open gyms and random workouts. And then all of a sudden they were like, "Wear a white T-shirt." I said, "What?" Okay. And then we go into HP, the arena, and it was just different, fast. I just remember that was the first thing that stood out to me was like nothing. We weren't doing anything crazy, but everything we did, the game speed, watching the fourth and fifth year guys get up there and run offense or do things, you're like, oh my God. Like, that's when I was with Ray Penn. I'm watching Ray Penn, Aaron Claiborne. I'm like, bro, what is going on? These dudes are flying. But every single practice was difficult. And the demand on every practice being hard and just so competitive. I remember having horrible practices. Horrible, but those are the ones you grow the most. Because then I remember the ones where you play well, and it's like, oh wow, success. Practice was horrible and incredible at the same time. But I learned so much. Because like I'll talk back in hindsight and be like, I don't know if I should have went to TSU, but if I never went there were so many things that I learned, especially on the offensive side, that I would have never learned from Coach Davis. Like his his pen work goes up against anybody in the country. Proof is in that to this day because he joined that Memphis staff, and I saw things this year, jumps in Memphis offense that I know was from him. So, shout out to Coach Davis. He's a real one for sure. I would never say anything bad about him. But my experience there was so difficult, but you feel like Superman after those practices. Like you walk into any other gym, I'm not worried about nobody else. Because the most difficult thing was those workouts.
Yeah, let me tell y'all a quick story. He was his his he had a whole house on campus. Well, it wasn't okay. It was a right across the street. And I used to go after class. We had what class we had together?
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology. Shout out to Dr. Reynolds. What was that man's name? Dr. Reynolds?
Dr. Reynolds.
Shout out to Dr. Reynolds. That was my guy. We'll get to him later. But he used to stay across the street. And after class, I go over there. We used to chill, all this. One day, we decided to get pizza from Pizza Hut. And, we eat the pizza. We good. And they had a couch. They had 2 couches. And them couches were like beds. So we sitting there. We didn't fell asleep. I have class at 4 o'clock. Y'all had practice at what time?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. You supposed to be ready at 4. Like, you supposed to be in there ready. We both didn't get up until 3:50.
It might have been 3:52. It was definitely 50.
I think it was 3:55, to be honest.
I think I want to say, no cap, I think it was 3:52 because I remember getting on that bike and flying to practice because they would have just probably threw me out of school at that point if I missed practice.
Boy, I don't know who woke up and we said, oh, and we both flew. I drove. I said, you need to ride now. That nigga hopped on his bike and he was gone. Man, I got a class and he got a practice. I called him. I said, bro, you made it? He said, bro, I got there right before they came out. Like he said, right before. We to this day, we don't know what they put in that pizza, but we was on that couch dead. Now let's get back to, we're going to talk about Dr. Reynolds. Okay, we met in that class. How he tell the story is, I walked around the school like a sad puppy, and he came up and saved me. That's how he tell people when he tell his story. This is the real. I'm gonna give y'all the real. So I used to sit by myself. I didn't really know nobody. So I sit by myself. I ain't want to talk to nobody. And there used to be a group of them. It used to be him, 2 other people, and a man named CJ. I call him a man. We'll get to him later. So, they used to sit right there, and I sit behind them. I wouldn't say nothing. So one day he came up to me and said, hey, man, don't I know you? I looked at him like, brother, you don't know me. But then we started talking. We got cool, all that. So Dr. Reynolds used to come in there every day saying some crazy stuff. And, TSU, we got what's the band called?
The Ocean of Soul.
The Ocean of Soul. One day he came in there and said, yeah, baby, they was out there playing Take Me to the Cross. And we all sitting in there like, Doc, you mean Take Me to the King? Well, y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. And he started singing the song. We said, all right, Doc, that's how that man was. Let me tell you how cool he was. The class was hard. I don't know why I took that class. The class was hard. We took our final before school was out. Everybody failed.
Everybody failed.
When I say everybody, he came back in there and say, y'all all failed. He told us, y'all come back here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Y'all gonna retake this test. When I say I think we had at least 50 people in the class. 35 was at his house. We all studying together. We in here trying to find a way to. We take it again. We all passed. And he was like, I knew y'all could do it, baby. I knew y'all can do it. But that man, I ain't gonna lie, that man made my experience at TSU a great one. Like, that man when I think of TSU, I think of Dr. Reynolds. Because that man was, every time I see him, he's always smiling, trying to get you to go do something, trying to get you to give blood. He be like, come on, baby, come give me that blood. I'm like, Doc, I gave you 3 pints yesterday. But that man was, that when I think of TSU, that's that. I hope he's still there. I'm going to have to go back up there one day and see if he's still there, because that man was a great man.
Dr. Reynolds got me in trouble with that giving blood. I remember me and 2 other teammates, 2 other freshmen. We were in his class, and he was like, if you don't give blood, you're not passing this class, right? So
I remember this.
me and I can't remember. It might have been Vic. It was another one. We were like, all right, so we gave blood. We had practice. We went to practice after, and Coach Davis was like, "Why y'all look like that?" Like we look kind of sluggish. I got low iron, so I'm looking super light. And then one of us spoke up. It wasn't me. It wouldn't be me. And they're like, "Oh, we had to get blood." Blood? You gave blood and then practice? And we're just like, we had to. We said we had to. So that's the dumbest thing I've ever. He said some other things, but it's fine. But we lived to tell the story later.
Yeah, TSU was a crazy time. Crazy time. So after my freshman year, I didn't go back, and I remember, was it the first semester you didn't go back, or was it second?
It was like mid-second semester. I didn't even
Mid.
get to finish my first year. It was insane. I got in so much trouble. I didn't get in trouble. There's a lot of stuff wrapped up into FAFSA and administration that made me not like TSU for a while. But it's okay. I still have love.
So after that, I think I seen him, but I ain't really seen him for like couple months, and then he called me one day. Was like, "Yeah, man, I'm coaching now." I said, "You what?" He said, "Man, I got my own AAU team." I said, "Nigga, sir, we are 20 years old. What you mean you got your own AAU team?" He said, "Yeah, man, come check them out." So I took that long drive down. Remind y'all, I stay in Missouri City. He stay in Cypress. I didn't have an easy tag, and I wasn't getting on there. So I drove down Highway 6 all the way to a little church out Cherry Park. And I went in there, I watched them practice. I said, okay. And then he had a tall kid. I said, man, that boy pretty tall. What's his name? He say, Stacy Thomas. I say, okay. He said he can dunk. I said, no, he can't. And that boy dunked that ball. I said, ooh, boy, you got you one. So then, we did that, and we was chilling, became friends, better friends. And then the next summer come around, he say, hey, you want to coach with me? I said, brother, I'm still playing. I don't want. But then, life happened, certain things. I get into that later. And I was like, you know what? I get this coaching thing a try. So he's a year older than me. So he's 21 and I'm 20. And a couple more of our friends decided to start our own AAU program. Now we had 4 teams with how many kids?
So we end up having 4 high school boys teams and a high school girls team and a 12 and under girls team. So we had 6 teams after one season of having like one little mini Elodia AAU team.
Y'all just heard what he said. That's we're gonna say by 60 kids. Mind you, I just told y'all. He was 20. No, he was 21. I was 20. The rest of our friends was 19, 18 years old. And we had another one that was me and was same age. And we had a whole AAU program. I'm gonna tell you, we was out there whooping ass. Cause me and him had 16U. Our team was out there whooping ass. But I like the money aspect. We didn't expect the money aspect. Like towards the end, we was shelling out money. Like we was not ready for that commitment. But I think it taught us responsibility. After that, I stopped coaching for a minute because that was a long season for me. I stopped coaching for a couple of years, but we're gonna get into him because he becoming a legend around Houston. When I say his name, they be like, Chung? I say, yes, sir. I know Edward Chung. So after our next level stint, what AAU program you coached?
Oh, there's so many things to talk about with how I even got into coaching and then the whole next level thing and then why it didn't work out or at least why I had to pause it for a while. And then, like you said, like learning how to not be a bad guy, but at the same time, you can't bend and break over everybody. Being young, like you try to try to help everybody. And you do the best you can, but at the same time, it's a business. So after next level, and I was still really young. I mean, I was 21, like you said. So the next year, I went to the Adidas program, basketball university. Uh, I went there during the era. The owner was Rossi Kieran, and I learned a lot about the business aspect, about the professionalism aspect, how you should look, how you should approach the game, how you should run an organization, how you should talk to parents, um, how you should train players. Everything um, outside the court, they did perfectly. Everything they did on the court was darn near perfect. The staff was excellent. Um, I learned so much. Like every day, like you go to practice, and if I'm picking up a random four, or whoever I'm working with, if we're getting up and down, and the other coach on the staff they're picking up there, and there's multiple coaches, you're in a coaching battle every day. So like it was intense. Like going to practice was fun. Like it was a like I said, a learning experience. To go be around some great players and great coaches, and learn a lot from the people that brought me in. Before ultimately starting next level back up again a few years down the road. But yeah, no, I went the Adidas route. BU.
Okay. And you say you started up next level again. What do you think you was more prepared this time around, or was it kind of like the same thing the first time?
This time around, we made it through the season. um, I think we were in contact with because it was a 17, so we had some unsigned seniors that didn't play the whole season. So out of the 13 players that we end up being in contact with that year, I think nine of them, 9 out of 13 or 10 out of 13 had a college, some type of college offer, including D3, NAI or something. And that's a fact. I could pull up all the receipts. One of them, he knew he wasn't playing in college. Two of them actually, and then the other two were juniors that I think through some more time we might be able to get something because they were still playing. Again, this was pre-COVID though, so things were a little different then. It was like live periods were different and the way coaches moved were different. No NIL type stuff. So uh, I don't know, but at that time, like it was a successful summer. There still was a little bit of still too nice edge sometimes, but for the most part, we were more prepared, and we did a better job. Like I said, we got through the season, and we did some cool things that summer. I definitely enjoyed it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So why you didn't bring it back? What was the reasoning of not continuing?
Why I didn't continue, honestly, was like a personal decision of me being a family man,
Hmm.
running a director. If you're doing it the right way, early on, it's a lot of sacrifice, time. It's oftentimes not financially very good for you. You have to give a lot, and I was in a position where I couldn't really do that. That next summer coming up, my wife was pregnant, about to have a baby. I'm like, no, no, no. I either need to work or I need to be in a coaching position that's kind of, it's set. It's a coaching position. I'm here to coach. I get a little stipend, whatever. And I'm not killing myself. So then that's how I end up stepping away from next level again, and I got back in the Adidas world. And then next level will be back at some point. Um, could be next year, could be 10 years from now. I don't know, but it's definitely something that I'll do in the future. But uh, just for the time being, it was better for me to have that structure of being under another umbrella.
Okay, okay. And to go on that his wife's pregnant part, I remember when they told me they was having a kid. They both was in the car smiling, and I'm like, "What's wrong with y'all? Like, what?" And I look, I say, "Are you pregnant?" And she said, "Yeah." I think I was more happy than them. Um, but so you say you went back to Adidas circuit. What team did you end up coaching?
Back to basketball university, man. I'm a loyal guy. I went back to
Okay.
the program that raised me. If it ain't gonna be mine, I went back there. That's where I went. Rossi called me, said he had a group. I said, all right, let me see.
Okay. Okay. You went back to BU. Who was some of them your players on that team? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember I had Chemo Millender, my starting point guard. Probably, if not the toughest athlete I've ever coached at any age. And at this point in my life now, I've coached since 2014, so it's like it's like 11 years. A lot of different AAU teams, some varsity, high school teams, community college. On the toughness level, he's probably number one. If he's not number one, he's number two. Um, so Chemo Millender, who's now a Division One athlete, Seth Jones, another one that was unbelievable, tough, stupid talented. Matt Lewis, extremely talented. Then we had different athletic guys on the team. We had like Colby Henderson, he's playing D2 still now. Um, Conley Christmas, Jeff, Jaden. I'm trying to think. I can't remember their last names now, but no, we had a good squad. That was a ninth grade team in 2019.
Okay. Okay. And you remember your record? What was your record?
I don't know. We won more than we lost. I do know that we didn't lose often. If we lost, it was in the circuit,
Oh,
and because it was different. Is different. Um, we did well sometimes.
okay.
We went out to LA, beat up on the Compton Magic, got the receipts, but
We got them.
but no, we did very well for ourselves. I don't know what that record was. Like I said, that was 6 years ago now.
Okay. So after BU, where you go after BU? Or how long did you stay with BU the second time?
So when I went back there, I was ready to ride it out. I like that team. But that ended up being BU's last summer as an organization. So going into the next year, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Uh, Next level, nah. I was like, I don't know. And I remember getting a call. That group I had at BU, the core of it, pretty much for the most part, was like they want to stay together and do their own thing. They developed a new program, Houston Train to Go, Houston TTG, and they brought me in, and I was in a spot where like I need to go out and get a couple more pieces because like it was pretty much the core, but we had lost a couple guys, so we filled that team and ended up being pretty successful for the next couple of years. Houston TTG.
Okay. Okay. What's some of the guys that came through there?
So the best 16 under player I ever seen in my life, Matt Lewis, bro. Let's go ahead and let's start a debate. For some reason, if you lined up against Matt at 16, bro, everybody knows what was about to happen. He was going crazy. All right, watch the film, and if you want to argue it, I don't. I mean, well, we can have the debate. It's been 5 years since then, but that's fine. I'm ready for it all. Bring the smoke.
I used to call him White Mamba.
I don't know what he was on that summer. I don't know what was going on, but for 1600, that was the best 1600 kid I ever seen. But we had Sam Bradford, big utility player, played every position. I started him at point guard because I'm a crazy guy. That team didn't have a point guard. If you wanted to beat us, all you had to do was press us and apply a lot of pressure and do it the whole time. But teams never did it because we put up a good front that we knew how to handle pressure. I had one point guard on the roster. He tore his ACL the second game of the season. Then we just let it ride. I said, Sam, he's 6'5". You played power forward your whole life. I don't care. Play point guard. And it worked. Um, and we had Sean Elkington on that team, 6'7", blue collar, best kid ever. Still playing Division One basketball now, University of Louisiana. Big Darrell, Big Jeff, just two big bodies that also had hands and they'd be ready to fight at any time. Um, a couple utility players again, Jaden, kind of like it was a good group, good size, good athletes. It was a good time. That 600 team. They did very well. It just sucks that it was 2020. The one year there was no college coaches at our game. It was unbelievable. We were playing at Legacy all the time. It's a, a national school, like a not a charter school, but like a they play a national schedule. But they were having their events, their you know social distancing events. We played in those and played well, but nobody could see it. It was unbelievable. But we had a nice run.
Okay, yeah. Nah, them teams I can attest for. They used to give everybody that smoke. I give you that. They used to give them that smoke. Uh, Other than AAU, what have been some of your other coaching adventures? You've been coaching at schools, camps. What has been your other avenues in the coaching world?
I coached homeschool basketball at the varsity level with my dad, Hampton Christian Homeschool Academy. I did that I was there 2 seasons, maybe three. We had the best center in Texas, 6'11", Kevin Sams. Oh my gosh, Kevin Samuel. Sorry, Kev. He's playing pro still. I think he's in France now. 7 foot now. Unbelievable. Great guy. Great player. Better person. Um, and I learned a lot there too. I love the high school world. It basically was kind of like being in private school. So there's a lot of good basketball being played. But I coached there for 3 seasons. It was three seasons at RCHA. Before I became the head coach at Lone Star College Cy-Fair, which was a 2-year community college. I started that in 2018. We were a community college that is a club team that you can play whoever will play you if they're willing to schedule you. And so when I got the reins to that, we had pretty good ties with a lot of the junior colleges in Region 14, the Blends, Angelina, Trinity Valley, Lamar State, the likes of those. And so through that, I was able to get a lot of my scars and build my stripes, where I took a lot of losses, but also built a lot of connections and helped a lot of young men make it to another level, if you would. It was a learning experience. I got to coach against some really, really good coaches, play against some really, really good players. But I did that for a few years. We had to take like a year and a half off during COVID times, but then we came back and same thing, still got to meet and help a lot of young men that thought they were on their way out the game, or they just needed a little pit stop. And if they took their academics seriously and their training seriously, we could help them. If you don't take your academics seriously, there's not much I can do. But we definitely had more good times than bad. I'll say with that Cy-Fair. But I did ultimately decide to resign this past December from there.
See, let me tell y'all something about me and his relationship. He's the more political correct person out the group. Me, I don't care. Lone Star messed that up. The reason we left was because I used to be his assistant coach since 2019. I can't speak for him, but I can speak for myself. I didn't like how they was moving around the school. They burned a lot of our bridges, a lot of his relationships, because he'll schedule the team and then the school will come back 3-4 weeks later, sometimes right before we play the team, be like, oh, y'all can't play them because of money issues. But the school make millions of dollars. I didn't get that. And then the team is paying us to play them. Didn't get that. And I didn't like how they was moving. I ain't like how they was treating him. He won a lot of games. He brought them a lot of good players. And what they say, the bread is in the pudding. Because they was not good this year. In a semester, they didn't turn boo-boo. But that's all I'm gonna say about them. I ain't gonna dwell on them. I ain't gonna. But yeah, so since you resigned, where you coaching now?
Good luck to Cypher and future Falcons.
What I just tell y'all?
Right now I am doing a lot of training. I do a lot of training classes at Just Play Sports in Katy. It's very close to me, and I actually enjoy it. It's I've learned a lot being around younger age kids again, and the blessing is like working through ages like third grade through all the way through high school is there. It's the same sport, but it's so different how you have to approach each and every player, each and every grade, girls, boys. So it makes you grow and you become more well rounded with the way you teach the game. So this has been a good season for me of learning. Before I get back to something in the fall, school ball somewhere, who knows? Maybe I might have been talking to people already. Stay tuned. But no, I've been enjoying it a lot. And then I do remember you asked like where else I've been coaching. I love doing camps. I have done quite a few camps. I've done different satellite camps, helping certain coaches like pop-ups in Stafford area. Like I helped Coach Henderson from Houston Tillotson run a camp at Stanford, me not Stanford, at Stafford. And then I like these university camps. And they're all different, but I do like the overnight camps. So I've done different ones where I have gone to Stanford University for overnight camp. I've done Duke University, University of Houston, Kansas, and I think that's it. I think that's it. Those are the main ones I've done. I've done Houston. I do Houston every year now because come on now, it's Houston. It's the Cougs, and I love what they do with the camp. They're the most different in this aspect where their players are fully integrated. So, you get to mesh with them a little bit, pick their brains, and get to watch them work out too midday while they do like their, individual sessions and whatnot. Getting to hear from Coach Kelvin Sampson is pretty dope. But like I said, all the camps are different. When I did Duke, it was 2019. Yeah, it was a year before COVID. Coach K was there. It was like his last full year, I think. And at their camp, it was no players around, mainly their staff. But Coach K would talk to us every morning. So that was something that I got to learn from. Stanford was kind of like Houston, where their players were around helping a little bit. Them, again, mainly was their assistant staff, but then they let us come to watch their workouts and take notes and ask questions. So it was a lot of learning there as well. And then Kansas, what they did that was really cool was each day they had like a hour and a half block where we'll meet with their staff and we could ask any question, whether it was basketball, personal, whatever. We could pick the brain of anybody on the staff and just talk X's and O's or whatnot. So it's all ultimately just, you know, grabbing bits and pieces all over the place just to become a more well-rounded product as a coach or as a basketball mind. So I'll do as many camps as I can. This year, I'm only doing Houston. Decided to stay local more, not travel as much. Opportunity to go to Marquette, but I'm not going to do that this year. Maybe next year, but yeah, I'm gonna stay home and then do Houston again. But yeah, I love camps and yeah, no man, it's been cool.
I told y'all he becoming a legend.
No, shit.
That boy say Duke, Kansas, Stanford, and Houston. Duke was in the Final Four this year. U of H was in that championship. Kansas is Kansas. And Stanford is on their way up. I told y'all he becoming a legend. Where you see yourself in 5 years in the coaching world?
I like this question. If you had asked me this 2 years ago, I would say probably at a university level on somebody's staff, if not be a head coach by now. But I think I've kind of pivoted from that. Just with how much the demand is and the travel and being away from your family and whatnot. I think in 5 years, I see myself plugged in somewhere seriously local, whether that's a high school or a prep situation, and leading the charge there. Being real comfortable with that. I don't know if I'll still be involved in some capacity with like summer or training or whatnot. Um, just because if you're that locked in school wise, you'll probably have to take a step back as far as being able to do AU or different trainings like that. But which would be fine because that would be a good trade off. But I do see myself still around the game. But hopefully by then, yeah, really locking in somewhere and being there for the long run.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. I got a couple more questions for you, brother. What is something you need to work on as a coach? And what is something you think you're good at as a coach? I told you I'm gonna come with it.
As a coach, what I need to work on is the basketball, understanding that there is no basketball common sense and certain things as a player that I don't think you could ever be too good at explaining, if that makes sense. Where like I'll see a player, I'm talking to a guard, I'm like, why didn't you make that pass? Or why didn't you do this? Or, you know, you didn't see that? And they're just like, no. Or what is that called? Like, so it's like being able to take what's in your mind, like in helping your players create that product that you see, like the vision. Like, I don't think anybody could ever actually truly master that. But as a coach, like, that's something that I will continue to work on more and more, where I can take a pause sometimes. And when I get there, I start noticing the look on players' face where like, oh, they don't know exactly what I'm talking about. So like, not over explaining, but just like being able to really illustrate what I want done and making it happen ultimately. But I think that's a lifetime uh achievement. Like it's gonna take a while for for me to really ever feel confident in that. So as far as something I do well, that's a good one. Um,
'Cause I think I know.
I'm interested to see what you say. I think I read uh body language well and energies well. Um, and I can find good synergies like in good lineups. Like I'm willing to, like have a little flexibility. Use it, be able to adapt like different lineups, and then I can find a certain energy with like 4 or 5 people, and I can for that day. Like your best five today might not be your best five tomorrow. So I think that's something I've worked on. It's a few things. I don't know, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. What were you gonna say?
Your X's and O's. I ain't gonna lie. Like the plays he come up with, I'm like, bro, how you think? Like
I
he
appreciate that one. I like that one.
he got an app on his phone. The boy got about 500 plays in there. I'm like, bro, what you be think? How you come up with this? Like it's his, and it's the preparation. Like he got something for anything you come with. He got something for it. So I think that's where that thing, like watching him, I think that's why I got better at. Cause I'm more in game. You do something, I can counter that. Cause I seen it with him. So I already in my mind, I already know a counter to your stuff. So that's what I think is your best basketball quality. Is your preparation and your X's and O's.
I appreciate that. I've just, I try my best. I want to be the next Mike Davis, Teddy Wheeler. Those are the best offensive minds I've ever been around in my life.
All right, and before we get out of here, I want to ask something. Cause you're a point guard.
Yes, I am.
So I want to know what is one of the qualities you look in a point guard. Like what is a quality a point guard has to have to play for you? Since you're a point guard, what do they have to have?
The ability to raise the floor in other players. It's a specific point guard skill. Obviously, you better be able to dribble, pass. But do players get better? Do they play better around you? Do you help people win? Do people want to play with you? If you're a point guard and you get picked last, that's not the point guard I want. Like I adapted it. Who did I get this from? Where now I don't make teams anymore if I do scrimmaging. I always make players pick. because a couple things happen. One, the players tell you who they think is the best player on the team or who's the worst because they're constantly last, or the player that they just don't want to play with. I like to know that. And then thirdly, that player that's constantly picked last, nobody likes that. They'll work harder to get better, right? So I don't make teams anymore. But if it's a guard and nobody wants to play with you, something's wrong. Because I know guys that are shoot first point guards, but people want to play with them. I know guys that are pass first point guards that nobody wants to play with them because they can't shoot. So I'm looking for, are you a floor riser? And what does that mean? Do guys play with more energy? Do they rebound harder? Do they screen for you? Right? If you have a forward that automatically wants to screen, that's a good sign. That means he trusts you as a guard. You make good decisions. But if you have guys that are just like, oh no, I don't want to play with you, or anytime they get it's a black hole, it's an ultimate sign of I don't, you're not the guard for me. Like as far as, and then I mean, if you go by attributes though, or like something like that specifically, vocal toughness. Aside from being able to dribble, bruh, vocal toughness.
You point guard out there, you heard it first from the point guard. My point guard, you heard it first. That's what you need. We're gonna go ahead and eat it off right there. This was a good episode. I appreciate you, brother, for coming on. This ain't gonna be the only time he on, but I appreciate you.
Appreciate you for having me, making tough basketball choices. I hope I don't regret anything that gets posted.
I'm not responsible for anything that happened on this. Appreciate y'all for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Hey, appreciate y'all.